Hello, friends! Hand glitched as I tried to reach for the unmute button in typical fashion. Happy Tuesday, folks!
Ladies and gentlemen.
What is up, everybody? I know that we did our first episode back last week after our little 2-week unintentional, partially intentional, just didn't tell anybody hiatus. But this really feels like our first episode back. I don't know why. It feels like we've lived a lifetime since last week. We've had so much going on, folks. I hope you guys have been doing well. Also, hello, Charlie, Lord Foul, Stanley's, Visitor Zeta, Sean, Sal.
Hello, hello.
Let's go, let's go. The gang is all here.
What's going on,
Good
gang?
to see you guys. Miss you guys. Hope everyone's been having a great week. Is it spring yet? I saw some people. Colin's here. We missed you too, buddy. Glad we're catching you, although I believe it's still very late for you. Or rather early in the morning. Either late in the evening or early in the morning.
Definitely early in the morning.
Yes, but thank you for being here. Regardless, my friend, on a Tuesday, no less. Early Wednesday for you. Sorry. Just...
No.
I can't do the future math. What's up, everybody? Still 42 degrees here. Oh, whoops. Yeah, I guess I'm skewed over here in LA. It's finally starting to feel like spring. It's gorgeous here. Matthew Tarpley, Saber Smith. I actually made it early. No papers to grade tonight. Cheers. Cheers, Saber Smith.
Yeah. Cheers to no papers.
Mm-hmm.
Give everybody 100.
Everyone's getting the shirt's getting the love.
Yeah, this is my honorary Bad Batch shirt, I think. Got the Death Trooper. All my other Star Wars shirts, I don't think have anything to do with the Bad Batch.
Holy smokes, Zeta,
Thus
thank
far,
you for the reminder. Frick, I put that on my list of things to do today, and I didn't do it the House of the Dragon trailers. Okay, here's what happened. I saw that they released a Blacks trailer and a Greens trailer. They released 2 separate trailers.
They did.
They did. And then they had a joint official trailer, but I didn't see that at first, because I made a mental note. I set my alarm. I was ready. I knew that HBO was going to be dropping those trailers, and I was like, I have to react to them. Then when I saw that they were split up, I was like, I don't know about
Just do
that.
one video.
I know.
Did they all drop at the same time?
They did. They did.
Yeah, just do one.
They did. But I was just like, let me know if they show too much, because that's the other thing, especially if the show is actually allegedly premiering in June. That is a whole lot sooner than I thought it was coming out. I thought I had more time. So at this point, I'm kind of like, June's gonna be here, y'all. I'm worried that 2 separate trailers is divulging almost too much. I really don't want a lot, especially when it comes to Game of Thrones. I want to go in surprised, you know?
They're gonna... If there's one show you don't have to worry about getting spoiled, it's that show.
Yeah, I know.
They're gonna, no matter what they put in the trailer, it's gonna be a good story.
They're gonna withhold the good
And
stuff.
they're gonna hit you with some ridiculous surprises.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like Star Wars where, the bulk of the discussion last week was exactly that.
Withhold
Star
too
Wars
much.
trailers. The context of the show
Yeah.
last week, of Dork Discourse last week, was talking about the Acolyte trailer, where it's like they arguably didn't show enough to get the plot, to get an understanding of the plot. But for Game of Thrones, you don't have to worry about the surprise aspect. They're gonna keep all that. Like, they're gonna give surprises
It's
versus
Game of
Star Wars
Thrones,
trailers, like
for crying out
tease
loud.
certain surprise moments. Anyway, that was last
Yeah.
week's. If you want more on that, go watch last week's episode of Dork Discourse, where we go all about the art of trailer making from our perspective.
Speaking of, Sal reminded me as well, the Penguin trailer on HBO as well. Or Max, rather. I should probably start referring to the proper name. Yes, I wanted to actually do a reaction to that too, especially since I saw some recent statements, I think that accompanied the trailer's release, from Colin Farrell himself, saying that the show is actually going to be incredibly violent. You know, it's that kind of whole underworld, him clawing, his way up as the Penguin and whatnot. So I really want, I might react to that as well. So stay tuned. On top of my backlog of Avatar: The Last Airbender, Legend of Korra, and now Bad Batch reactions, stay tuned. We'll see. Sean, member for 5 months. Let's go. Master level. I finally got your Zuka art framed. Oh my gosh, wait.
Awesome.
You sent me a message on Instagram. I have to respond to it. I will do that. Thank you so much for making my wall epic with your art. You're epic, Sean. Thank you, my friend. Also, the Bad Batch this season has been fire. Always grateful for you all. Sean, wouldn't be the same community here without you. You are such a valued member here, and it makes my day. I have to go and check out your message, because one of my favorite favorite things ever is in the process of when you guys purchase prints, and if you're kind enough to share the end result, its final destination, you know, framed, especially getting it professionally framed and stuff. I'm so excited. That's like my favorite thing ever, seeing my art in your guys' in your homes or wherever it ends up. So thank you. I will definitely
In your homes,
be responding.
on your cars, in your private jets,
oh,
wherever it may be.
yes. Anyways, yes, but in the vein, thank you, Sean, for leading us into our segue. Tonight's topic, we are backlogged on discussing Bad Batch, folks, because I know last week I said nobody talk about it in the chat because we have both not caught up yet. Tom finally caught up last night, and I have filmed all my reactions to the recent episodes. I still have to upload all of them. And I should warn that in my reaction to last week's episode, where it leaves off with Fennec Shand having a FaceTime with a mysterious figure. Spoiler alert right now, you guys will see this in my reaction, and I'm going to edit something in. Went right over my freaking head. I didn't guess Ventress at all. You'll see. It's frustrating in hindsight. Maybe it's because I refused to believe that she was introduced into the story this soon.
The musical cues didn't ring any bells?
No.
I guess not.
No, you'll see. This is why I'm disclaiming now for everybody. I'm well aware that my brain farted into oblivion. Well, my brain self-combusted in that moment.
I mean, I guess it's been years since you saw anything Ventress.
Yeah, it really has. It has, so it's going to feel bewildering. Well, when was Clone Wars final season?
She wasn't in that.
Oh my god, that's right. Oh my god.
Did you ever rewatch?
No, I'm thinking about our rewatch.
I recently rewatched.
Yes, we both did the arc where
leading up to Ahsoka.
Yes, the arc where we watched the
that's what it is.
Important episodes that Disney Plus was featuring leading up to that, and that's right. Ventress is in that when Ahsoka escapes to the underworld of Coruscant. Yep. That's what I'm thinking of. But no, that is very true. In terms of recent content, it's been a hot minute. So just fair warning, if and when my reaction to last week's episode comes out, all of that with Fennec Shand went right over my freaking head.
You're not the only one. Sean's saying that he didn't pick up on it right away either.
Oh, thank God. Okay.
Sal is saying that he's talking to Asajj, perhaps. So it's not that obvious.
They left it intentionally vague because I really thought but I racked my brain. I was like, who could this actually be if she was just framing them to get a score on them because they're suspiciously asking about this thing they shouldn't be, and she has more knowledge about it perhaps than she divulged to them. If she were really trying to frame them and set them up, why wouldn't she just take that score for herself? That's what I fixated so much on. Like, who could she be? Who would she be in cahoots with? Why wouldn't she just take them in herself? She had the opportunity. So I go down that rabbit hole without considering in any way, shape, or form that it could be Ventress. So, but also I know there's, as I disclaimed, I'm in the process. I ran out of time. I was renting the audiobook Dark Disciple on one of my library apps. My time ran up, so I didn't finish it. I really only got like halfway through. So then I had to get on the wait list for it, which you would think with audiobooks there wouldn't be a wait list. It's not tangible.
Oh, for Dark Disciple.
It's digital. It's digital. Yet there is a wait list. I guess they only have certain digital copies, and I was like 20th in line when I re-jumped back in. So I think I've jumped up barely. So my hope was that I was going to finish Dark Disciple because I know there was Discourse. Sweet Lord. Discourse! There was discourse surrounding the timeline, and that novel is canon, and a very beloved novel, dare I say. I really freaking loved it, and I'm salty that I didn't listen to it fast enough. It's hard because I know a lot of people listen to audiobooks when they're doing just mundane activities, but I have to sit down, close my eyes, and it's like a movie in your brain. That's why I made a resolution to myself that I would listen to more of the Star Wars audiobooks, because they put production in it. They had the sound effects. The narrator was doing different voices. It really sounded like the characters. He even had Ventress's voice down. They got droid sounds. They have everything. It's like full production with music. There's like music. Like they were playing Battle of the Heroes and shiz. So I have to close my eyes and just listen. and it was beautiful. It was like a movie in my brain, and I loved it. I loved where the story was going. But so that's why I was curious. I wasn't even thinking about Ventress because I know there was some questions about how this might overlap, since there was seemingly some disparity in the timelines. If anyone can sound off on that in the chat, who's more educated. But that said, I know the producers and showrunners of Bad Batch disclaimed when there was all of that buzz following the trailer, the initial teaser, they disclaimed that, don't worry, we respect Ventress, we respect this book, it'll make sense. So that's why I was like, I know everyone was thinking, could it be a flashback of sorts? And if so, how does that pertain to the larger story? So perhaps that's why I wasn't thinking of her in the present, being there presently in that moment. Because I was like, I guess I just hopped on the bandwagon that she could be in a flashback, in a sense.
We're changing the name of the show, by the way.
Shut up! Shut your mouth! Shut it right now. See, I could have gotten away with it. I could have let that slide. That could have been a seamless transition. Yeah, because your mind's in the gutter.
No, you said it. Anyway,
okay, let's
so
listen to...
I think if everybody goes back and rewatches it, I mean, it's totally Ventress because of the music.
Because of it?
And I mean, as soon as that soft music started to play, like immediately I was like, oh, Ventress. So I'm pretty confident that she was talking to Ventress. And last night, I mean, I watched the episode, I've been the last 4 episodes last night. It was the first time I was watching them. And immediately after the last one, you and I started talking about what her role would be, how it makes sense now that we have a little bit more context with where she's at, what the story's at. And I think it does make sense that she would appear in that moment. And I think one storyline they could pursue is that she is, at this point, in cahoots with Quinlan. And together, they are forming the structural foundation of the hidden path from Kenobi. We know in Dark Disciple that they are together. And we know from Kenobi that Quinlan is involved with the hidden path. So if she has a change of heart to help the Jedi, because like Maul, she wanted vengeance on her chain of masters that just threw her aside, in her case Dooku, and you know, the decimation of the Night Sisters, we know she's already had this kind of change of heart. So if she takes that as far as, oh, let me help the remainder of my kind, which are Force wielders who are not Darth Sidious in the chain of masters, to survive this purge that the Emperor and Darth Sidious, the Emperor/Darth Sidious is doing, and help the remaining Force wielders survive. So she could be very much in tune of this M-count bounty, and maybe this is what drives the creation of the hidden path, because it emphasizes that, oh, the Empire is not only wanting to wipe out the Jedi, but also every single Force sensitive that could potentially be used as a weapon against the Emperor and the Empire. And that's how this whole thing intertwines together.
Yeah, Stanley's makes a point. Well, who else would know about the M count at this point for the Bad Batch? Visitor Zeta, you haven't watched Bad Batch since season 1. Well, we're spoiling the crap out of it for you right now. Sorry, my friend. Oh. You should watch though, because we will get into this. Is this, you know, I titled this, is this the best season yet? And we never actually really kind of had any debriefing after you binged last night, all the episodes last night, caught up. Because we are in the final stretch here. If this season is 16 episodes total, we're in the final 8. Sorry. All right. I'm gonna quickly. I forgot to mention this last week, says Lord Fowl, about the Acolyte. My God, I can't talk. The reason why the Jedi are doing martial arts is because during the High Republic they didn't use lightsabers as much. That's valid. They probably didn't have much reason to weaponize them, to exercise their use of saber skills. This season of the Bad Batch has been the best start to a season for them by far. I agree, Sal. even last week's episode was fun. Felt like we were swamp diving against an incredible foe. I know it really gave me Florida vibes. I was so mad at Fennec for doing that. I know, it's interesting because the Fennec that we kind of really know and were introduced to in the Book of Boba Fett, you know, I do think she's a changed woman. She's a little more jaded, but in that sense, and, you know, with what she went through evading death thanks to Boba Fett, you know, we see a more loyal version of her. So it's interesting seeing her in these younger days here. She's a little bit different, a little more dodgy. Okay. I heard Balin's skull is going to be in Tales of the Jedi. Oh, flip. I hope so. Mm-hmm. Of all characters. Sean says the top guesses for who Fennec was in cahoots with could be Asajj Ventress or Cad Bane. That's true, but I think Fennec and Cad Bane still have unfinished business. You know, they interrupted each other's efforts to, I want to say kidnap, but retrieve Omega from the bounty in the first season. Right? That was in season 1.
Yep.
So they kind of, I think, are on each other's hit lists.
Yeah, I think Cad could be one of the ones taking the bounties, hunting the M count.
Oh, people. Yeah, that's believable.
I think, like you said, if Fennec wanted to, she wouldn't be in cahoots with anybody. She wouldn't be
especially
phoning a friend. Especially him, yeah.
Sal says, I actually thought for a second Fennec was calling in Cad Bane to snitch on them, but perhaps it is Asajj. I don't think it's Nalase. God, I hope it's not Sid. Oh my god! Holy F!
No,
I didn't even think about
Sid.
that.
No, it's not Sid.
Never want to see her again unless it's Cad Bane shooting her. Agreed, Sal. Where's that revenge, huh? I want to see them absolutely just obliterate her. Sorry.
We're gonna see the death of Sid, I think.
No, they're gonna take the high ground. My God.
No, they're not gonna kill Sid.
No, they're not. We're not gonna get that satisfaction.
Palpatine can kill Sid. Cad Bane could kill Sid. Fennec could kill Sid. There's plenty of options to kill Sid.
Mandalorian Legion makes a good point here with the voice actress of Asajj Ventress saying that this is just an appetizer for what's to come with the character. A Ventress animated show is very possible.
Very interesting.
Listen, she is. I know there's much debate surrounding writing when it comes to the female Star Wars characters, but I think Ventress is unanimously agreed upon as one of the best. And she's incredibly fleshed out, and that's why I'm loving Dark Disciple, because it really peels away some of the other layers to her humanity and kind of vulnerability. And she's actually, like, she's just phenomenal. She's phenomenally written. Colin, member for 25 months. Holy shnikes! Wow, right? I agree. Thanks again for your amazing artworks and the fast delivery. Listen, delivery I could not control. They flew that over there and on like military grade fighter jets. That broke the sound barrier getting over to you, Colin, because we were equally amazed. But thank you. Plug for CatherineLaSalle.com. Clearly, ShipStation knows what they're doing. Yep. Gotta get this signed by Hayden this August. Can't wait for House of the Dragon and Acolyte. Oh my gosh.
Awesome.
You'll have to send me pictures when you do, Colin. And yeah, we have a big summer coming up, y'all. It's, what do they call it? Hot girl summer? It's gonna be nerdy girl summer. It's nerdy girl summer coming up with Acolyte, House of the Dragon. Rumors are going around that Asajj or Rex may be the next Star Wars animated project. Yes. And I hope that they do announce one, because as we know, right now, the Bad Batch as we know it, yes, we do have Tales of the Jedi, but that's not as, I don't want to say they're not as dedicated to that, but it's definitely more of like a passion project. And it's, of course, shorter episodes, unless they, you know, with the overwhelmingly positive reception to the first round of episodes, unless they decide to ramp it up and do a few more. But it seems like, you know, Dave Filoni, his original conception of that was never meant to be anything more than those little short side quests and stories. So, unless that changes going into the next season, the next round of Jedi that they explore, the Bad Batch as we know it is kind of this final point here, this conclusion to the Star Wars animated era, at least, you know, the Clone Wars and these characters. But they are planting interesting seeds of, you know, Rex and his kind of underground, you know, his work has certainly just begun. And I think that would be an entirely plausible series that they could spin off with this. It was my birthday on Saturday. Let's go, Lord Val.
Happy belated birthday.
Excuse me. I showed my friends the trailer for the Acolyte and they loved it. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm happy to hear that. I don't want to dwell on it too much, but I think Alex sent an update to me and Zach today that that trailer now has 3 times more dislikes than it does likes, which is just absolutely, obviously pathetic. I think that's no fault of the trailer itself. Because sure, we agreed, our discussion last week, was it the most stellar trailer in the face of the universe? No. But it by no means warranted the reception it's getting, and it's obviously just from the sour half of the fandom.
That's from your perspective of someone who thought it was average. But there are people who are perfectly entitled to think that it looks awful.
I don't know about that. This is not the topic of tonight's debate. But I'm glad to hear that your friends enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Next episode of The Bad Batch is titled The Harbinger. And I'm gonna be completely honest, I don't actually know what that means.
First I read that as Harbaugh, so like Jim Harbaugh. Make their Star Wars debuts.
I'm pretty confident that Cad Bane is one of those M-count bounty hunters, given his history.
Makes sense, Sean. Palpatine is Darth Sidious, confirmed. Spoiler alert.
In case y'all didn't know.
Yep.
My goodness, my
T-Money, what's up?
T-Money! Good to see
Welcome.
you. Just got out of my language class. Let's go, let's go, let's go. Good for you. You go beyond Duolingo. T-Money's over on Duolingo, and I just want to give him a public shout out for always sending me high fives and cheering me on over there, because I get more and more tempted to quit that app every day. All right, let's get to it. Oh, I saw something about Sid. If there is a person who knows how to hunt Jedi, it's Cad Bane, correct?
Yeet
Correct
Sid into the lava
indeed.
pits of Mustafar. Well said.
My.
Daddy Josh. Well said.
What if Cad Bane is hunting Ventress and the Bad Batch has to help her escape? Then she tells them about the M count. Could be. Daddy Josh, hello, what's up? Greetings. Just
Taxes. What's going on with taxes?
Don't get Tom started, please, for the love of God. Take it back.
Have the Bad Batch done their taxes?
Take it back right now. All right, we're not gonna.
How are they paying for that shit?
All right, we did a quick little catch up on the chat.
They're unemployed and they got this is like their 3rd ship or something.
They really
live
do
on a
have no money.
They have permanent residence on this luxury, exotic, tropical planet vacation.
Well, didn't they kind of help them all escape death when that giant tsunami tidal wave came to threaten the whole place?
Yeah.
I think they earned their rent. All right, they get to live there rent free.
Yeah. Are they collecting Republic Social Security? Did that transfer over to the Empire, or did they get wiped out?
Anyways,
are they paying them hush Social Security money and giving them a pass from the Imperial IRS so that they can just stay hidden and stay out of the way of the Empire?
Why did somebody say taxes? Anyway,
is there Imperial welfare that they're using to feed
Y'all got him started.
What's going on?
Anyways,
is Padme in on this?
Leading, not entirely related at all, but segueing to avoid further rabbit hole of taxes in the galactic universe. What did you think of the last few episodes? You watched 4 last night. So now that the first half of the season is complete, where do you stand, and how does it compare in your opinion to previous seasons?
I think the title of the stream is fitting.
Okay.
I think it is indeed, thus far, the best season of the show. For one major reason, and that is continuity. From the beginning of this season, even starting at the end of last season, through to where we are now, it has been one steady plot line that there's sub-threads and subplots, but it's all building up at the same time. And the main plot thread is Omega, which the whole show is, why is Omega so important? Every single episode, we're getting little teases and hints and threads and breadcrumbs of why Omega is so important, and they're building that up. We're also getting subplots of Rex and the clones and what's going on with them. We're getting subplots of, Hunter and Crosshair's relationship and the Bad Batch themselves, but it's all woven into the same basket of Omega and why is Omega so important, and ultimately what's going on with Palpatine's project Necromancer contingency plan that he's building into existence. So it's been all one through and through plot line, steady up on the rise. Each episode has a nice beginning, middle, end, which is what is obviously great. So you're not like craving more week to week. For the couple episodes, like the one last week where it was kind of a cliffhanger ending, they released 2 at once, so you could get it all in one day.
And extraction. Yeah, why don't they do that more often?
Yeah, well, it's fantastic. It's great. You that way in each week you get a beginning, middle, end, but it's all building up on top of each other with the steady plot line to where we are now. So far, I do think that it is the best season of the Bad Batch. I think, has there been one moment that's been like, wow, this is standout? I mean, the opening episode when Palpatine actually goes to Tantus, like that whole thing is pretty standout. But like if you think about the
I don't know how to help you here.
The Crosshair arc where he goes to the snow planet and kills the Imperial output, like that's a standout, just like episode on its own.
Yes.
Then also when the destruction of Camino at the end of season 1 is incredible. The episode where Rampart faces the Senate and Palpatine appears, like that is probably still the most standout moment of the entire show for me. But in terms of the season and the string of episodes that we've gotten, this is easily the best stretch because of how continuous it is. It's all building on each other. It's all leading up to the second half of the season that we're going into starting this evening. So yeah, that's my thoughts.
Yeah,
that's where I'm at.
I think they have finally, I think they heard the masses and are finally capitalizing on Crosshair. And as Sal put it, I couldn't agree more. He has joined, for me, the pantheon of the greatest arcs in animation television. He's in the category with Ahsoka, Zuko, Vegeta for me personally, and I can't wait to see how they finish it. I agree entirely. Sorry, I don't know who Vegeta is, so if I mispronounced that, which I probably did, forgive me. But the other two, I concur. And, I've been saying it, I think we've all been saying it since season 1. And I think one of the strongest decisions they made with his character was the fact that he is acting on his own volition. Everything he has done, everything he has committed to wrong the Bad Batch and betray them and stab them in the back and pursue them and hunt them down and cause them stress, all of that was on his own free will, his own accord, after the bombshell, revelation that he has had his inhibitor chip removed, because for the longest time we questioned if that is what was causing him to, if that was malfunctioning perhaps, or what was prompting him to betray his friends. And so, the reveal, the decision there to make it all intentional on his end, when he reveals to them that he had it removed all that time ago, it has since set him on the trajectory of just being one of the most fascinating characters. And I think he's been criminally underused. Season 2, I think all of us, every episode without Crosshair was just like, you were just jonesing for more of him. And the episodes with him were incredible, which is why Outpost with Mayday is such a standout episode. Every episode in which Crosshair made an appearance was... It just satisfying, because I think they've really built him to be the best character coming out of this show and the latter half of this franchise here with the Clone Wars in this time period. So the fact that he's been a driving force of this season, I'm like so grateful, because it feels like they heard us. They heard everyone. Excuse me. I'm finally freaking recovered from that cold that I had last week. And all of a sudden now, talking. This is the most talking I've done in a hot minute. It's coming back, but I feel like we're spoiled now this season with the amount of content that we've gotten with Crosshair and the reparations that he's had to be doing, and obviously the tension and finally some character development that is coinciding with Hunter. Because I know Alex and Zach and I have discussed in the past that Hunter doesn't really have any character development necessarily beyond just wanting to chill, lay low, and developing these paternal, relationship with Omega and doing anything at any cost to protect her. But I know a qualm that I have had in the past is that he seems like so much more of a leader that I've just been thirsting for him to finally just get over that. Get over the fact, accept that you can never just chill. You can't just go to Pabu and retire. You can't just keep avoiding, what's at stake here, what is happening to the clones. That's what they've kind of done the entirety of the show, just danced around, and that's why they worked for Sid, to try to buy their freedom so that they can just go live a chill lifestyle, avoiding, everything that has ensued post Order 66. And I've just always wanted more. I've wanted more engagement from him on that end. More, what's the word I'm looking for? Enthusiasm to join that. So one of the just the biggest breaks, an amazing breakthrough this season was that moment with Rex at the end of, I think it's episode 7, Extraction, when he basically tells him straight up, Hunter, you can't avoid this any more than I can. Stop lying to yourself. I was obsessed with that. It was incredible. Yep. And that's exactly the message that I've been wanting them to give Hunter, that motivation, and break out of the avoidance that has really governed his decision making throughout the entirety of the show. But also that paired with more of the kind of, they've obviously tapped into Crosshair's flaws, but they're tapping into the truth of the matter, which is what Crosshair says to Hunter, breaks him the truth that Omega did get captured on his watch. Whether he likes it or not, Crosshair was the one to break her out, or at least help her out, keep her safe during their escape, much to Hunter's dismay. And now Omega, somebody mentioned the Crosshair and Omega bond that they're establishing this season has been great, and I think Hunter is noticing it, and it's going to cause a point of perhaps jealousy or contention that I think is already there. He notices that Omega has taken a liking for Crosshair. I don't think things are finished between them. I think there's definitely still more unspoken tension. Julian, member for 26 months on the master level. Holy shnikes, my friend.
Julian!
Thank you. Hi, Kat. Hi, Tom. Did you see that Hayden Christensen kicked off the Star Wars theme? Yes, at the Empire State Building. It's on YouTube. They have Star Wars memorabilia in the bottom and top floor. Yeah, that was awesome. So cool. What prompted that? The takeover of the Empire State Building?
I don't really know, but I've watched all the clips of it.
I'm not going to question it.
It's awesome.
I'm not going to question it. Yes, Richard Taylor. Yeah, retconning. That's the discussion of what's to happen with Ventress. We will see if there's a retcon there or not, because that novel is canon, correct? So we'll find out. We'll see. Maybe, I don't know. We're gonna find out this evening at midnight Pacific time. But
you said something, and I just made a crazy connection. Pabu. Bolin's little pet thing
is Pabu.
Isn't that Pabu too?
Yeah. Yes.
Legend of Korra, Bad Batch connection.
Crossover of the century.
Pabu the planet, and Pabu the little dog.
He's like a panda chipmunk
thing.
Swirl. What is he? I should know.
I don't know.
Isn't he a ferret? Is he like a panda?
Yes, he's a little ferret. He's a little ferret. Yeah, that's right. Pabu the ferret and Pabu the planet. Anyway. Avoiding the elephant in the room. Commander Wolf. Yeah. We get to see Wolf showing up, and the way the episode ends of them in their stalemate, and he actually lets him go. It's perfect that happens right in the middle of the episode, because it shows that, here are clones that presumably do have inhibitor chips. And yes, the inhibitor chips are against the Force wielders and the Jedi, but it's not strong enough to totally detach them,
make them act against
without their
other.
Crazy conditioning, like the what's the name of the troopers? I forget. The special troopers who've been mind wiped and identity
like the
wiped.
shadows they called them. Yeah, that whole, I'm so glad they're exploring more of that, because that was one of the most wild arcs from season 2, you know, Senator Chuchi being hunted by one of those assassins and then learning that it was a clone, and just the eerie creepiness of, it's another thing that the show's been doing really well this season, rather, particularly. They've been withholding certain things behind the scenes, you know, behind, keeping things behind closed doors that happen off camera that you can only just imagine, and it has built this eeriness and this level of just like concern and just the disturbing layers of everything that's at work here. You know, the most we've gotten about these assassins is what Crosshair admitted because of his involvement initially, you know, their identities being entirely erased. You know, what do they have to go through? What vigorous, horrific training do they go through to get to that point? Where they're really just like full-fledged servants of the Empire with clearly the biggest will to live in the history of the universe. I mean, that one that is still now pursuing them, the backup agent that they brought in, you know, he fell down like the biggest waterfall in the world and survived. So, you know, they clearly are like, have sheer will. I want to quote John Wick, but I don't want to curse. He's a man of sheer frickin' will.
That's a phenomenal, by the way.
Yeah.
But that's not in the first one when the Russian mob guys go and give this monologue?
Second one. It might have been in the first and second one. The second one, when it starts with him going to get his car back from that garage, and the guy's up in his office, and he's like,
yeah, when he finds out that his son, I feel like it's that guy who says it.
I think it's both, because they're brothers. The guy in the first one, when he's describing, you know, I once saw him kill a man with a pencil.
Yeah.
And I think it happens twice. I think it also happens in the beginning of the second one, when then John Wick has already killed everybody and he's going to get his car back. And then it just gets absolutely destroyed in the process of breaking it back out. Anyway. Where are we? I thought...
So, do you think that this is the best season so far?
Oh, yeah, I think 1,000% for the same reasons. You make a good point. There's lots of standout moments in the other seasons, and I will say the opening episode, the original hour-long like premiere episode of this show, is still up there for me. It was still really phenomenal. You know, the opening with Kanan Jarrus, or rather Caleb Doom and Depa Billaba and all of that, you know, just how fresh it was.
Papalopoulos?
Metropolis.
Depa Billaba?
Jesus. But so I love the premiere episode. That is still one of my favorites, and I thought they could not have opened the show on a stronger note. Similarly, each of the finales was really strong, I think, but I do think this season has finally... There's been much debate over what is considered filler or side quest, and I don't think it's necessary for every episode of a show to contribute to an overarching plot. But this season in particular, I know that's something that I prefer. That is a personal preference, and I think this is where a lot of the debate, the negative discourse from this show stems from, is some people don't mind filler, some people absolutely despise it, and everyone thinks they're right, versus I think filler also has just strayed from the actual meaning of what that word once meant, and now it's like, oh, if an episode... If you for some reason don't like an episode, it automatically becomes filler. You know, I think that's the use of the term has strayed from its original definition. So, but in terms of whether I would venture to say no episode from this season has been filler, which again I don't like it because it has like derogatory meaning now, I feel like, but they've all had some sort of tether to what is in store here in the arc that they're forming, and I'm super happy because I was a little bit not concerned, but frankly shocked by how quickly Omega and Crosshair were able to get out of Tantus. I really thought they were going to be there for longer, so when they broke out after the third episode, I was a little bit concerned about where this is going, but they're still feeding into now, all right, they've quickly established here the next move is launching this attack, what Rex is planning, Echo, those efforts, and now clearly Hunter can't avoid that for much longer, and Omega certainly doesn't want to, it's still very much on the front burner for her, and she has a guilty conscience, and so she's not going to rest, I don't think, unless they contribute in some way to those efforts. So the fact that they didn't just break out of prison and then didn't have a game plan going forward, like, they got out of Tantus, and now the focus is back on how do we get everybody else out there. Like, there's a clear vision, a path for the rest of the season. So I'm like, I don't care. They could have escaped in the first episode, but as long as there's a trajectory here and still some continuous strain that we're following that is playing into it. I think another reason I really love this season is they've ramped up the fear factor. Again, so much is happening off screen that we are not privy to that creates this just disturbance of what are they doing to these clones. We're just as in the dark as Echo and Rex and everybody. And I am curious because do you remember gosh,
do you remember
all of a sudden I freaking have to cough. Do you remember in the infiltration episode when Rex was questioning Omega and Crosshair again, and he asked her, like, what else can you tell us? And then it kind of it cut to another scene, but it lingered on Omega for a little bit, and I don't know, it looked like she
was hiding something
was
too.
hiding something, perhaps. Did you get that sense?
I mean, we don't really know her origin, so I think she is hiding something. I think she and Nala Se. I think Nala Se knows the most. Omega knows the second most, and everybody else is basically on the same page with the audience with what they know. Maybe Crosshair is a little, maybe he's third place, and then we're underneath them with Rex and Cody and everybody else in terms of knowledge. Crosshair knows stuff that nobody else knows that they're going to reveal. Omega knows stuff that nobody else knows and she's going to reveal. Nala Se knows stuff that nobody else, but we know that her knowledge is on the same level of what Hemlock and the gang discovered with Omega's blood being a perfect candidate for midichlorian transfusion.
Yeah.
And cloning. So
I think does know, and I don't think she's concealing anything with malicious intent, but I think she's more privy, and especially on, she was always working closely with Nala Se in the science realm. She was her assistant for all those years before, she has been very entrenched in this. It's not like she just got started with the science behind the scenes stuff during her time on Tantus. She's always worked closely with the Kaminoans and this cloning and whatnot. So I think I don't know. Again, this is not to paint her as she's hiding something and she's a bad guy. All of a sudden she's literally a child, but I think there could be something that she knows that she's afraid to admit or doesn't want to think about. I don't know. It just, in that moment, I felt like there's more that she still had to tell. Sal, yes, in that episode, she had a toothpick in her mouth, like Crosshair. I loved it. I know, and that's, again, she's been, kind of at the hip with Hunter for the entirety of the show. He was kind of her kind of go-to, the main paternal figure out of the group. She did start to really develop a close bond with Tech last season. Now we know why. They killed him the frick off, so that was just to kind of add salt in the wound when that, death came. But now here she is with Crosshair, and that's why I'm interested. I think it's gonna brew some jealousy and envy for Hunter, because for months on end, all she had was Crosshair. I think somebody did the math and calculated that they were there for maybe like 4 months or so, or something like that. So, or at least she was. He'd obviously been there a little longer, but I don't know. I think, again, there's still unfinished business, unresolved, bad blood with Hunter and Crosshair. I think they've had to put things aside for now, and they're getting friendlier by the second, but I think there's still going to be a boiling point. I think also something's going to come out. They've all, my God, this is their first time really operating as a group fully again, following Tech's death, and they didn't really necessarily have a second to grieve for him. They had to rally pretty quickly because Hemlock was right on their tail. Like 2 seconds after Hunter broke the news to Omega that it was real, that she wasn't dreaming, that it happened. And, you know, I think when grief goes unspoken or unhandled, I think it can come back up. It can reach a boiling point, perhaps. And I feel like there could be something that comes out, you know, an admittance of resentment towards Crosshair because, you know, Hunter wishes he was Tech or something like that. I don't know. We'll see. Where are we?
You want to hear something interesting as well?
Tech theories.
Not tech theories.
Okay, what's interesting?
I've been thinking about our friend Sheev. Our good pal Sheev, and what Sheev is going to think when this ragtag group of clones eventually liberates Tantus. And who's going to take the bulk of the Sheev wrath for when his precious gemstone project is ripped from right out of his fingertips by a ragtag group of clones.
Meaning in the process of trying to help, they're going to do more harm, and it's the rest of the clones that are still in commission that are going to face the brunt.
Potentially.
That's a fair point.
I think anyone who is at fault is going to... They're not going to have the benefit of a trial. They're not going to have the opportunity to defend their actions. They are going to get wiped from the face of the universe with no trace that they ever existed. Just like Camino, except Palpatine is directly involved.
You think this is going to happen to the Bad Batch?
I don't know what's going to happen. But I think what they're setting up is that they're going to return to Tantus and liberate the facility. I think whoever does not escape is going to get literally turned to ash.
Oh, Jesus.
It's tough to say right now who would actually escape and survive and who wouldn't. Like, I mean, we know Rex does. We know that Wolf and Gregor do. But the Bad Batch and Omega, no clue. I think it would be fitting if their story ended in this show.
There is the loose end there.
For the betterment of preventing Palpatine's plan from going forward. If they make a sacrifice for the greater good of all the clones, and Palpatine is severely set back in his project, because we know that he's not successful until 65 years after this point in the timeline. I mean, we are right smack after Revenge of the Sith.
That's a good point. And they're seemingly already on the verge of a breakthrough.
Yeah.
You know, Hemlock's very confident and ambitious in this stage right now, so something does have to derail all of that.
Yeah.
And somebody will face the wrath.
And they're not successful until 65 years from now, by the time you get to Rise of Skywalker. Which from now to the original trilogy, roughly 20 years. Original trilogy's roughly 5 years. And then Rise of Skywalker's roughly 40 years after Return of the Jedi. So, 65 years from now is when Palpatine is actually cloned and brought back to life.
Right.
And discovers the Force ability to give himself a nice ruby red Gucci robe. So, yeah, you're right. They're on a breakthrough right now. They have a prime cloning candidate. But he's not able to find success 65 years later. So this has to be a severe setback to his plan, to where they're still talking about Project Necromancer in Mandalorian time frame, and it's still not successful.
Sal makes a good point. Tantus could be exposed, which causes Palpatine to then take his work elsewhere. ... That's the goal. That's a good point as well. And,
Richard, 57 years later. Thank you for
the math.
Yes.
The math is
Good
mathing.
Yes.
We do know that Rex has knowledge now that he could be feeding to, his sources in Senator Chuchi. Other senators now we've seen there's a little, not uprising per se, but brewings of people in politics, people in positions of power looking to find ways to turn public favor on against Palpatine, and that would certainly, if they had proof, similarly to how she had to fight literally to just barely get the footage of, oh sweet lord, what was his name? Rampart, intentionally sabotaging, Camino and whatnot. Something similar could happen with Tantus as a method to expose him, but I don't know. That could put a hiatus on his efforts if he had to then just keep it laying low. But we do know it all still comes to fruition anyway, so I'm curious. Do you think Palpatine's dying? Like, does he have cancer? I don't think he's dying. I think he's deathly afraid of dying. Look at what he did to his own master. I think this guy is. That's why, in my reviews of the first few episodes.
Talking about Palpatine doing his own master?
Yes. Yeah. Like, I think this man trusts no one entirely. As somebody else mentioned earlier, even when he loses, he wins. He always has the leg up on everybody. Like, this guy is always checking his back, has everything planned to a T. I think it stems from a place of fear of wanting to maintain that, hold on to that. With the chokehold that he has, the dominion over the entirety of the galaxy, like, I think it's natural that you'd want to have your own back, I don't know, which I know a lot of people complain that there's almost this forced sense of they've had to infuse the cloning and inject that into all the storylines here in order to compensate for the prequels and make it make sense, but
You mean the sequels?
Yeah, the sequels. I don't mind the layers that it's adding to Palpatine because it adds a sense of vulnerability and fear. It's like anyone who is doing this clearly fears death and wants to hold on to their power for as long as they possibly can, forever, eternally.
Well, you see that in Revenge of the Sith. There's moments where he's like genuinely afraid, and you see it on his face, and it's such a powerful moment when he's fighting Mace, and when he's fighting Yoda, when he's got Yoda, they're on top of the Senate stool after he's playing frisbee with Yoda, and he's hitting him with the lightning, and like Yoda's taking it back, he's taking it back, but then he puts it back on Palpatine. You see that moment in his face, like, oh my god, I'm literally about to die. Like, he knows that Yoda is potentially about to kill him. Like, you see that in his face, so it's there, and this is really just expanding on that. I mean, he's 120 years old in Return of the Jedi. So like around here, he's 95 years old. Like, the dude is old. So whether he has cancer or whether he's just old as dirt, which he is,
granted,
he's gonna continue to look ways to cheat death. And
humans that age differently, and they start
they do, and they have way better medicine. So yes, they can live for longer. But you can tell how enchanted he is when he's persuading Anakin at the opera to join the dark side, talking about the power to cheat death, the power to save the ones you love, all this stuff. Like, he's so like hypnotic when he's talking to Anakin about it, because he's hypnotic about it himself, and we see that. And all in all, it makes sense that he would go to the lengths and he'd have the resources to back up a project of this magnitude, out of the pure selfish intrinsic reason of him wanting to survive and cheat death. Like, I think it all makes complete sense. I think the main the issue that people have with how it played out in Rise of Skywalker is the only explanation we got is the now infamous Poe Dameron line of somehow Palpatine returned, and that's basically all we got. So you're gonna take one of the greatest endings of all time in Return of the Jedi, undo that with a one-line throwaway explanation of not really what happening, other than Sith magic, cloning, dark side of the forces, abilities that some consider to be unnatural, copy paste line from Revenge of the Sith. Like the fact that we didn't get anything in the movie, we just said, we're told he's alive. It's a fact. Deal with it. Like that's rubbed everybody, I think, the wrong way, and people are scratching their heads. Like the movie basically raised more questions than it gave answers. But they've laid a serious foundation here of how it all could make sense and how it would all work. So I think it's it is helping make sense of what happened in Rise of Skywalker. So
Yeah.
And it's not just in this time period; it's in the Mandoverse. Like they're making it make sense that it took so long for this to happen and it didn't happen sooner. And I think the Bad Batch is going to be a catalyst of like, okay, yes, they're setting the foundation of this is his intent, this is the plan, but where we're going is there's going to be a severe hiccup in the plan.
Right.
Such a severe hiccup that it sets them back 57 years.
Yeah. Sean, I couldn't have said it better myself. His backup plans have backup plans.
Yep.
And that is exactly the case. But Tantus is clearly a stronghold, so we'll see where this goes, especially because all of Rex's forces really just got eviscerated in the extraction process. You know, he's got to kind of seemingly start over from scratch now, just as they were starting to really gain some forces. So we will see, but I feel like I'm pretty confident that's where this season is leading into, some sort of attempt, some sort of attack launched on Tantus, and perhaps that will be a catalyst that derails his efforts, they're on the verge of a breakthrough, seemingly, or perhaps something, Hemlock, they've really built him to be pretty indispensable. He's quite an asset to Palpatine, he's like the perfect combination of deranged, crazed, maniacal, mad, but genius, brilliant scientist, so I don't know if there's backups of him, just in the queue with their resumes at the ready necessarily to fill his shoes. Like he's a big crucial part in all of this as well. So perhaps something happens to him and all of his science, goes by the wayside and they have to start from scratch again. We'll see where this goes. Yeah. But do you have any polls in mind for this evening?
Yes, but Stanley makes a great point. I think Palp's clone body is made long before the sequel trilogy, as he's been manipulating Ben Solo from when he was a teenager. Yes, that is a very, very good point. We do know from Rise of Skywalker that he's been every voice you've ever heard inside your head. And so Palpatine has been at least in a force wielding enough state to manipulate Ben Solo through the Force for some time prior to the sequel trilogy. Whether that means like what the state of his physical body was, I think until the dyad shows up, I mean, he's stuck to that machine. So is that like Rev 5 or 6 of Palpatine force wielding body, but like his essence has been alive the whole time and just been waiting to find a good enough host, and he's been slowly developing his power again over a 40-year span between Return of the Jedi and Rise of Skywalker, when we see him actually take full form again. That would be very interesting to see how all that would play out.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Any ideas?
Yeah. Yes. Gimme. Will the Rock? Okay.
Oh, seemingly every poll has something to do with The Rock. I was thinking this as well.
This is a super basic poll, but then I have another one.
Oh, for real? Are you serious? Our dinner's going to be burning in the oven. Well, we'll have to wrap this up quickly. Poll positions, folks.
Sacrifices.
Quick. Is this the best season of Bad Batch? Top answer, yes. Bottom answer, no. You may file when ready. And obviously, of course, here and I, Tom, both voiced that we do believe that it is, but just if you disagree with us, feel free, that is okay. We welcome differing opinions here. And I will say, like, I don't think this season is like, oh my god, like blows the other ones out of the water. Like, I don't think it's like night and day, like season 1 or 2 Pill in comparison. I do just think my personal wishes for where the season has tapped into the continuity, the storyline, the danger of the time period, the stakes, the character development, it's all really there because I think by virtue of the fact that it's the final season, they've really got to ramp it up, and it's just been on electric nonstop levels. They've not pumped the brakes, they're keeping it going. Granted, other seasons, I think they had more wiggle room to be having fun versus the fact that this is the final one. Where this is leading, I really don't think they have room as much to just take pause and go on as many side quests. Again, I don't mean that as a bad
only
thing.
Tragedy.
But and it's not even like anything's been necessarily tragic, but they're really just tapping into disturbing
tragedies are coming, people. Tragedy is coming down the road. Full steam freight train. Just wait for this tragedy. It's gonna be tragic.
Who is your guys' favorite character in Bad Batch? Mine's Crosshair. I think I have to be the same. I'm gonna be unoriginal, but I agree entirely with what Sal expressed earlier. He's cemented himself regardless of where his story goes, and I think this speaks volumes. Like, I don't even care where they end his arc right now. No matter what they choose, they'd have to try really hard. They'd have to do something really that would make me change my opinion of him as a character and how he is just solidified as, I think, one of the best written characters to come out of even just the entire Clone Wars universe here, I would venture to say. I agree with Sal. He's up there with, like, Ahsoka and Ventress. Like, the intrigue with him, it's been stellar, what they've done with him. So I would venture to say Crosshair, but of course Omega. And I dare I say, I don't know if anyone's noticed this, but I feel like she's really, maybe it's just me, I feel like she has matured a lot this season. If you look at her in season 1 versus now, she seems older to me, more mature. Like, she doesn't, not that kid energy, that childlike innocence that she had is annoying by any means, but she was a kid. She versus now, she had a very optimistic outlook on life, on things. Didn't know much about the real world. Had never been outside of Camino. She is way more, unfortunately, jaded now. She's seen some things and been through quite a lot. But she's come out stronger for it. And I really see a development in her and a difference in her. And I don't see as much of, like, the naivete that she had. I do think, like, I think
What did you just say?
her naivete, isn't that how you say it?
Naivety?
Naivety, whatever.
Is that how you say it? I don't know how you say it. I've never read it of naivete. That's not like naive.
Naivety? I don't know.
Blue people.
Her naive nature.
Naivety.
I
the nativity.
The nativity.
Nativity.
It's
no, that's like birth.
She. Oh.
Like the
she.
nativity scene.
Her optimism in season 1. She had dreams, she had goals versus, like, where she is now. She had very, like, but it was fueled with, like, childlike, she didn't know much about the world. The Omega that we have now, I believe firmly, like, she does believe that she can go back to Tantus and free everyone there. And I believe her. I don't look at that.
She's in for a tragedy.
Oh my God. I don't look at it as that's so optimistic it's almost comical. I don't see it that way. I do believe her when she says that. Naivete. See, I was right.
You said it right. Yeah, you did.
You were calling me out.
I've been reading it wrong in my head for my entire life.
Yeah. Thank you all for backing me up. But we have a most resounding 82% yes. 18% no. Again, it's not a bad thing if this is not your favorite season. It means the other seasons are comparable. So, one final poll. Sorry if you heard that neck creaking. I'm sorry.
And it is incomplete so far. So we have yet to see what happens in the second half here.
This is true.
And maybe it would change.
This is very true.
Maybe it would change.
But I think with only 8 episodes left, they really are going to ramp things up. So we'll see. Final poll. We'll see how.
Final poll until the next poll.
No, this is your last one. Until the next poll next week. Oh my gosh. Well, this took a turn. Final poll positions.
This is the one that is in my head, and I'm trying to convince myself that whether it's going to happen or not.
Will Sheev vaporize someone with lightning? Yes or no, folks? No, I think that they wouldn't. They couldn't.
I don't know. It's pretty dark.
Well, we have 100% yes so far.
They're setting this up to be the whole first 3 episodes of this season was this is Palpatine's child,
joy. Yeah.
baby, the most important thing in his entire life. And if a bunch of ragtag clones with a girl, like a little child girl, is gonna go and liberate and throw the whole thing out the window, this dude is gonna be beyond pissed, more to any level of pissed off that we've ever seen him in anything before ever. He has no better excuse to unleash just full rage on whoever is responsible for this failure, which I think Hemlock is probably a prime candidate.
If he survives.
To receive the unfortunate end of Mr. Sheev here. Mr. Palpatine, Mr. Sidious, Mr. Emperor. But I don't know. He's gonna be mad. He's gonna be real mad when he has a 65-year, 57-year setback. He's gonna be real mad.
50-50 split right now. Oh, 55
yeah,
45.
It's very intriguing proposition here.
Piercing Like Light Productions, good to see you. Unfortunately, you're popping in right at the very end here. We're finishing up with our last very disturbing poll of the evening. It really, actually, without context, it's quite questionable. But at least we could see you for a little bit, my friend. I hate it. Somebody always joins right as we're getting ready to say our parting goodbyes. But we'll be back same time next week, of course. Hopefully with some answers in regards to... That's the other thing, too. Everyone thinks we might be seeing Ventress or whoever it is that Fennec was FaceTiming with. But could something else happen between now and then? I don't know if it's going to pick right up with that. We will see. But... yeah. Something's gonna happen that has to draw them off of Pabu. You know, I don't think they can just hide there for something's bound to happen that's going to draw them away from Pabu. We'll see what that is. It would be really weird if most of the Bad Batch survives this season. Yeah, I'm trying.
There was no who is vaporized in this poll. It's just, is Palpatine going to unleash his all-powerful Force wrath on someone who is destroying his pride and joy, or who would be responsible for the severe setback of his master, most secretive plan in existence?
He'll be mad. He'll be mad for sure.
And 55% in favor of yes, it will happen. So I think an interesting proposition that Richard says, maybe he'll have Vader force choke Hemlock. He could use this as an educational experience to have Vader deliver the brutality of a punishment that this failure would warrant. So maybe Palpatine would use it as a training opportunity to say, hey, Mr. Previous almost Jedi Master, Mr. Burnt Up Limbless Skywalker here. Yeah, I know that you went to the Jedi Temple and slaughtered everybody, including the kids. But now you got to do it again. And yeah, you'll let some people scrape away here. There's still Jedi out there, so you didn't do a good enough job. Clearly, you showed some mercy. No mercy this time, pal. Otherwise, you're gonna feel no mercy from me. So go do your job.
This is too much like Cobra Kai. No mercy.
Do your job.
No mercy.
And kill anybody who's responsible for the inevitable failure of Mount Tantus.
Well, I'll give you $5 if we see either Vader or Palpatine absolutely roast somebody. Alice, my girl, my queen, I'm so sorry you're tuning in right as we're getting ready to hop off. But that goes for anyone. If you're lurking in the chat or if you've just joined, of course you can check us out in the replay, and we will of course be back same time next week. I'm sorry, Alice. Don't hate me, but it could be Crosshair and Omega as the last two standing. Stop. I don't want to think about this. We'll make predictions as we get further down the line.
Omega and Crosshair versus Vader and Palpatine?
No. What the frick? No frickin' way. That's nightmare fuel.
Omega, Crosshair, and Mace Windu versus
Oh my god.
Vader and Palpatine? If we go back to the Mace Windu episode from, what was that, a couple months ago now, where there's the Samuel Jackson comment swirling about Mace. Speaking of whoever put the purple on, nice choice.
Shout out. I know the purple's nice.
It could all be intertwined together.
Well, thank you all so much.
Another poll.
No. Next week. Thank you all so very much for joining us this week for another episode of Dork Discourse. We're approaching, I think, our 50th episode in 2 more weeks. Is that what number we were on? Yes, this one is episode 48.
Nice.
So 2 more weeks and it'll be 50. Maybe we'll do something
special.
exciting.
Something special.
We should.
50th.
Yeah, well, we should do something fun.
Yeah.
Let us know if y'all have any ideas. But until then, hope you guys have a great rest of your day, night, morning, evening, 3 a.m., whatever time it may be where you are tuning in from. And we, of course, hope you guys have a great rest of your week. We will catch you guys when my very, very overdue reactions come out. But looking forward to hearing your guys' thoughts on this week's episode. If you're staying up tonight, have fun. If you're staying up till 3 a.m., good luck. But I'll catch you guys when my reaction eventually comes out, and of course in my other overdue reactions. But until then, thank you guys so much for watching. You're the best part of the Dork Discourse podcast. We couldn't do it without you guys.
Absolutely.
Thank you for all your interaction and sharing your thoughts on this season with us. And we will catch you guys again very, very soon.
Yep. Here's to a tragic ending to the show.
Bye, guys.
Tragedy.